Hi everyone! In today's video, we're going to be comparing the websites of two major US news powerhouses, CNN and Fox News. And to up the difficulty just a little bit for ourselves, we're going to attempt to leave politics completely out of the discussion. So feel free to check me if you see any smirks or eye rolls, but I'll try and leave the political commentary to you all in the comments if you so choose. Instead, we're going to be focusing on the overall user experience of going to each website, right? Is it super fast, easy to use, all of the images and content appear right away? Or is it a bit slow and clunky and maybe loading piecemeal and could be a little bit of, let's say not the best experience for the user, right? So that's what we're going to look at. We'll also sort of decide, does one site fare better than the other, or are they both fairly similar in this area? And I think one other thing to think about before we get into our test, slow, laggy sites obviously aren't going to be the best experience for the user. Probably not saying anything too groundbreaking there. But something else to think about is, what does that mean for the brand advertiser, right? What kind of brand value are they getting out of their ad dollars spent if they're running ads in environments where the ads are perhaps slow to load and maybe the users could be kind of frustrated or stressed out by the overall experience? So just something to think about, but let's go ahead and get into our test. Now, I think three key things we want to keep an eye out for. One, when does the content first appear? So maybe we'll get some text appear on screen at first and we can start reading the text. It gives us something to do. Two, images. Images often seem to come in a bit later, intentionally by the publisher in many cases. So when do images pop up? And then third, when are we sort of done loading the page? When is it easy to use? It looks like everything's kind of in place, right? So let's go ahead and jump in. And we will start with CNN.com in our browser. And we'll also get a timer going. There's our timer. All right, got a white screen. We're waiting, checking out the timer. We're at 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 7 seconds in. We didn't see anything. And then, okay, boom, bunch of text. All right, so now we're getting text, still no images, about 15 seconds in, and there we go, 17-second mark, some images pop in. So at this point, it looks like you have a good chunk of the site, but then all of a sudden at the 24-second mark, the content shifts back down, right? So something's coming in this area, probably an ad. For the really patient user that wants to see the ad, maybe they wait the additional 10 seconds for that ad to actually come into place. More likely, users may have scrolled down by now, right? And of course, worst case scenario is you saw an article you liked, you went to click on it, and then the content shifted down and you clicked on the wrong thing. So that's happened to me before. Maybe it's happened to you guys as well. Don't love when that happens. All right, so we are at a minute, and it looks like there's still some stuff happening on the site, right? I mean, we've got the majority of the content, or at least plenty to keep us busy, but we can see that something's still happening, right? Site's still loading. So let's see. Maybe it's some of this content below the fold. Let's start to scroll. All right. You can see as we're scrolling, it's a little jerky. It's not super smooth, which would tell me some things are still happening. You might also hear on my computer the fans kind of going. So it's thinking. It's working pretty hard to get all of these images and content and trackers and whatever else is happening behind the scenes. Looks like there's something happening. Okay, we got an ad pushing this content down. So again, we could be patient, kind of wait, hang out. Let's see what this ad's going to be. It's very, very exciting. The suspense. I'm sure many users will wait. Oh, looks like we changed our mind. Oh, okay, here we go. Mailer Lite. All right, that's some good retargeting. I was checking them out the other day. All right, let's keep going. All right, so we can see we are at 2 minutes and not all of the content is there, right? So some of that could be intentional, right? CNN may have introduced some lazy loading, which can be good for the user, right? We don't want to load everything below the fold if the user is not there yet. So that can certainly help, but we see sort of the effect is if you do want to kind of power read or speed read through some of these headlines, it's not going to be a super smooth, easy experience, right? You can see it is kind of jerky a little bit. And if you go really far down, which maybe some people never make it this far down, right? Maybe you've clicked on an article by now. You got the paid content section. Okay, now this stuff's loading. All right, so we're a little less than 3 minutes in. Probably get a pretty good feel for it. Let's just scroll back up real quick, see what happens, and then we're still seeing like a little bit of jerkiness, right? You would also hope maybe, all right, well, all the hard work's been done. Now I can just kind of breeze through the site, but it doesn't quite work that way, right? We see, looks like the ads are reloading or have to at least reappear. We've got some cached images. So it's still not super great, super smooth. All right, so that's CNN. Let's go ahead and close that down so it's not still thinking and doing things. We'll stop our timer as well. All right, and then let's go ahead and do Fox News. Here we go, and we'll restart our timer. Let's see how we do now. All right, so I have to remember the numbers, but I would say, whoa, that looked a lot quicker. Okay, 6 seconds, 8 seconds in. There's still some stuff happening, but I think it was CNN. We got the text at 10 seconds, and then we got images at 15 seconds. Here, it was around 6 or 7 seconds. We got a lot of stuff. Now, there's clearly still some loading happening. We can see whatever is going to be in this upper left-hand box, probably video, taking a bit longer to load. But we can see we've got some headlines. We got quite a few images, but because of the size of this, there's probably fewer headlines to read, so you might start scrolling a little bit faster. We're scrolling. And I am kind of curious. We never saw an ad up at the very top as well, much like we saw with CNN. So it's possible something was going to come there, but we started scrolling. We'll check it out at the end. But we can see some ads still coming in. We're a minute in, right? We're a minute in. We're not too far below the fold. We have these headlines, but a lot of blank, presumably image space here, right? So these images have not loaded. They're probably loading. We can see the little wheel on my browser tab is thinking. Some things are still happening. But, we're still missing a lot of content. We scroll down. Some things are appearing, but this just looks a little weird, right? So probably missing some images and some content. The user might be like, well, what's the deal with that? Okay, just got this left-hand menu just reappear. We keep going. So we're a minute 40 seconds in. The synopsis so far is it looked like we saw a much faster initial load on content, but then things kind of slowed down or hit a bit of a wall, similar to what we saw on CNN. And then it looked like at the minute 45 second mark, we finally got all these images come in at once. Then we saw another ad pop up here. Interestingly, it's a little bit of a sticky ad. I don't think we saw any sticky ad placements on CNN. So it is probably helpful for the scrolling experience. Now that we finally got the left-hand bar and the right-hand bar to come up, they're at least static, right? So there aren't new things happening until we get to this point. Now we're getting some new content. Now maybe we're getting into some video. So we can go ahead and stop this one at the 2 minute and 30 second mark as well. But we can see in general, we got a lot of content early on, but there's still a lot of loading. We're 2 minutes and 30 seconds in, and we've got these blank images. So if you, again, wanted to kind of like power through some content, just browse some headlines, see what's going on, you can't do it super fast, especially if you scroll real quick. You're going to have to wait. And then if you scroll back up, it's still kind of herky-jerky. Some white, it's not as perhaps speedy and smooth as you would like. You would hope, if nothing else, it does a lot of this heavy lifting up front, and then you can have a smooth, seamless experience, but we're not quite getting that. Last thing I'll check is at the very top, we did end up getting an ad. It eventually came in, but the user may have been gone at that point. They never saw the ad, right? So did Amazon end up paying for that impression? Who knows? Did it count as viewable? Who knows? And then we just saw a new ad come in, so that was interesting. Still Amazon. All right, cool. So we'll go ahead and stop our timer here, and just chat for a second. So, what does all this mean? What does it matter? I would say, in summary for today, we'd probably agree that both sites exhibited a lot of similarities. It did take a little bit of time to get some content on screen, right? Fox News was a little bit quicker in getting some text in those initial images out. Took CNN about 10 seconds before some text appeared, 15 seconds before we got images. But then at that point, things kind of slowed down for both sites. And as we scrolled, we saw we were missing some text, missing some images, and it was a bit of a stop and go experience for the user as they try to see content. All in all, an okay user experience, at least in the fact that you're getting a lot of headlines and articles and stuff you can start reading and maybe even click on, because, maybe people aren't there to read the homepage for 5 minutes. They just want to click on an article, go on to the next thing. But, if you do want to browse headlines, you might have to wait a little bit, right? It's a little bit of a slower experience than you'd like. Also, with the fan going on the computer, if that slows down your other browsing activities or computer activities, that might not be great. Maybe you've even seen sometimes when you close down one of these tabs that is bogging things down, it takes a while for your computer to really recover. So all in all, there's some user experience issues we could probably improve upon, right? Now, this exercise was not meant to pick on CNN or Fox News or to even hone in on the news vertical. We see this kind of activity all across the web, right? I think everybody's very familiar with that. You end up on sites that sometimes things take a while to load, right? It could slow your computer down. So, journalism is incredibly important, and it's important for society and free democracy. Ads are a huge part of that, right? So, a lot of websites out there make close to 100% of their revenue through ads, right? So, advertising is important means to support a lot of these publishers and these sites. We just have to have a better user experience, right? And so, we could probably discuss at length why this is happening, right? At the end of the day, publishers need to support their websites and, need to support original and valuable journalism. They have great content and an engaged audience, but there's sort of this constant arm race of sorts across the internet, with impressions at this point on exchanges having soared into the multi-billions, right? And you might see some of the smaller long tail sites stack a ton of ads on their site, and this has kind of flooded the market over time with more impressions and ultimately contributing to some dilution of CPMs, right? And then with lower CPMs, you get even the biggest, most reputable of publishers having to kind of create more ads or find ways to get incremental revenue. And some of those could slow down the user experience, right? So, all of this is slowing down the web for users and can kind of sort of make a more crowded, less meaningful way for brands to connect with consumers. So how do we unwind ourselves from this situation that we found ourselves in? We think a good start is really focusing our attention back on the user, right? And focusing ad spend on the inventory that puts that user experience first. Speedier, cleaner websites are going to be more fun for users and really make for an overall just better internet. And happier users and streamlined ad experiences are going to help brands get their message seen and remembered in a positive light. And happier brands will, of course, reward publishers that provide these types of friendly user experiences. So that's sort of the hope, bringing attention and finding ways to target our ad dollars on the best brand experiences and the best user experiences possible. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video.